Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. With the newest edition of Lotus-Eater, we now have one legendary rocket sidearm for every single element in the game. And with each release, it's always felt like the next one was somehow going to trump every previous rocket sidearm. Now, was that actually the case? Well, that's up to debate. Some people have really married themselves up to one specific rocket sidearm and put it in every loadout. Other people use them all interchangeably. But today, we're here to look at which one is objectively the best. Of course, at base, rocket sidearms are just flat out insane. They're easily some of the strongest weapons you can choose. So today, I'm going to rank all 5 of them from best to worst, going over their pros and cons, what synergies they have, and especially what they're going to look like in the future. Of course, if you disagree with the ranking that we give today and or the reasoning behind it, let me know why down in the comments below, and do understand that I'm just one guy and we have different viewpoints. Also, if you find this video informational or entertaining, a subscription would be greatly appreciated. So with that said, I think it's time we list them in release order. The first one we had was Indebted Kindness from the Warlord's Ruined Dungeon. Then we had the Call, the Strand rocket sidearm released with the Final Shape DLC, and then shortly after that we got Aberrant Action, the solar rocket sidearm that came with episode Echoes. And then following that we got the Iron Banner rocket sidearm, Tinasha's Mastery, and then just recently we got the newest addition, of course, being Lotus-Eater from Nightfalls. Now we are going to rank and compare them against each other later in the video, but first we need to actually look at each one, and I don't think there's a better order than what I just listed. So to begin, we have Indebted Kindness. This sidearm exists with the most popular role being Impulse Amplifier plus Volt Shot. Another good combo that I see fairly often is Lead from Gold plus Volt Shot, but really the one thing that matters and makes this sidearm good is just Volt Shot. Its other perks and origin trade are pretty negligible. Now, as for what benefits this weapon has and what we're going to list, the things that come to mind are the ad clear and bit of chunk damage that you get from having Volt Shot, the overall snappy feeling of the gun, especially when you Impulse Amplifier, and then importantly, with the God Roll, it gets intrinsic anti-overload thanks to the Jolt. And also, while there's merit to leaving the list there, I also do want to include a kind of temporary section about benefits from this season, mainly just the artifact, and you'll see them in a different color, that way we don't mix them up. But considering artifact mods, Indebted Kindness actually synergizes with not many. Really, it's just dielectric, where defeating arc debuff targets grants stacks of Volt Charge. I should also mention that it gets anti-barrier sidearm, but literally every rocket sidearm gets that. Now, I do think that about covers Indebted Kindness, so next up we have the Call. This Strand rocket sidearm has, to be honest, a lot going for it. One major benefit that I think a lot of people overlook is that it's just Strand, which means all those in-game prismatic builds, you can use this to build Dark Transcendence energy, which tends to be harder to get than light energy. Perk-wise, it has some pretty good options. It gets Slice, Lead from Gold, Demolitionist, Strategist in its third column, and then over in its last column, it gets Patchling and Desperate Measures. Now, while none of these perks are super busted on their own, like Volt Shot is, all these perks are very useful. I'd say the Call is a pretty utility-oriented rocket sidearm, which actually does give it some unique value. But to discern a single God Roll, mine is definitely Demolitionist plus Hatchling. So with that in mind, the benefits that I see are its energy type and build versatility with all of its perks. However, for the season, it gets a ton of bonuses. Unraveling Orbs gives it Unraveling Rounds for free, and then immediately pairing that with Horde Shuttle turns the Call into an absolute Unravel and Threadling Printer. This gives it pretty fantastic ad clear, even considering the AoE damage nerf that rocket sidearms got just a bit ago. But moving along, we now have Aberrant Action. This solar rocket sidearm is in conflict with Indebted Kindness for its slot, but rather than having crazy ad clear, it has a lot more subclass synergy and survivability. I'd say the single God Roll that pretty much everyone uses is Heal Clip plus Incandescent. There are other good perks in this weapon like Strategist and Pugilist, but to be honest, you don't really see those. And the reasoning behind that is because Heal Clip plus Incandescent is very good. This roll is where all of our pros come from for Aberrant Action, and you can expect things like pretty good ad clear and technically unstop stunning thanks to Incandescent, and then a ton of subclass synergy thanks to Heal Clip, as well as survivability. By simply using this weapon around your allies, you can increase your ability region by 300% thanks to Ember Benevolence. Not to mention that Heal Clip is again a reliable survivability boost. But where seasonal stuff is concerned, it actually has nothing next to the barrier sidearm, of course. Now, after Aberrant Action came Tinasha's Mastery. This stasis rocket sidearm is very good, to put it lightly. It has a lot of the same benefits as the Call due to being in the kinetic slot with its stasis energy type, meaning you get a lot of Transcendence energy. But where damage output and Transcendence energy generation are concerned, Tinasha's Mastery does it even better, and that's thanks to its God Roll. I'm sure we can all agree that the God Roll here is Air Trigger plus Chill Clip. The benefits this roll offers us is truly insane, Air Trigger massively increases our base reserves, which is one of the things that recently got nerfed. This perk helps with running double special and actually allows us to rely on Tinashas as a primary weapon as if the nerfs never happened. And then on the chill clip side of things, you get increased ad clear and chunk damage against healthier targets while also allowing you to CC anything at will. This perk is frankly insane on a rocket sidearm, and aside from the moment-to-moment bonuses, it also allows you to synergize with stasis and prismatic subclasses. But then, of course, probably my favorite thing is that it allows Tinashas to intrinsically stun both overloads and unstops easily, which, I know every sidearm gets anti-barrier this season, but when paired with that, this single little sidearm can do all 3 champs. But outside of champ mods, that's about where the seasonal synergy ends. And now onto the last rocket sidearm, we have Lotus-Eater. This Void sidearm, which I actually just recently put a review video out on, is another one where we don't have to think too hard for the god roll, with it simply being Repulsion Brace plus destabilizing rounds. This roll has a lot to offer, with it being a self-sustaining loop. Repulsion Brace effectively guarantees you're always running around with a Void Overshield, which, while active, gives you 70% damage resist. And destabilizing rounds boost ad clear similarly to incandescent, but even better with the recent buffs. You'll get volatile explosions, and then you'll get volatile rounds, which can stun barriers and make anything you shoot at volatile. And then outside of those bonuses, we have a good amount of seasonal synergy, with Volatile Marksman giving you more volatile rounds, and the boost makes it so this weapon is a class ability energy printer. Maligned Harvest gives it the ability to weaken, and then Void Flux is for even more volatile, but it's pretty redundant, so I'm actually going to not include it on the pro list. Now then, with every sidearm quickly discussed and what I consider to be their most valuable traits, which one is the best? Well, just looking at them side by side, I think you'd probably say Tinasha's has the win. The anti-champ capabilities, the damage output and CC from Chill Clip, and the subclass synergies are just too good. After that, I think the easy second place, especially for this season, is Lotus-Eater. The recent buffs to the Repulsor Brace plus destabilizing rounds combo guaranteed that this rocket sidearm would see a lot of use, and where Tinasha's is the offensive king, I would say Lotus-Eater definitely takes the cake when it comes to staying alive. After that, I want to put Indebted Kindness and the Call pretty much at the same level. While Indebted Kindness is surely more lethal, the Call is a lot more versatile and has a more desirable damage type. Both, though, can be equipped without thought and see success. And lastly, I think Aberrant Action just isn't that great, to be honest. Heal Clip and the Solar Synergy is nice and all, but everything that Aberrant Action does, another sidearm can do better. And interestingly, even if we were to remove all the seasonal bonuses, I think this would remain the tier list in order. Tinasha's, Lotus-Eater, and Indebted Kindness are all future-proofed to handle champions, keeping their value relatively the same, even in new sandboxes. And if we were to predict damage nerfs and more ammo nerfs, I think all it would really do is exacerbate how strong Tinasha's is comparatively, as well as cementing the other positions. Granted, maybe Lotus-Eater would actually be slightly worse, since it would have a harder time starting its loop. But I do believe that this is a pretty conservative list for now and the future. I don't think I'm making any outlandish claims, and I'd be willing to bet that you guys agree with me. So to wrap it up as simply as possible for anyone wanting to skip to the end of the video, from best to worst, we have Tinasha's Mastery, Lotus-Eater, Indebted Kindness and the Call, and then Aberrant Action. So with that said, if you disagree or agree, let me know down in the comments below, as I really do just want to open a dialogue over this topic. Rocket sidearms are probably the strongest weapon type of the game, and until Bungie goes in there and really nerfs them, they're not going anywhere. So thank you for getting this far into the video. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. If you want to support me and support the channel, a like, a comment, a subscription goes a very long way. To support me and support the channel, but you can't think of a comment down below for Rocket Sidearms. With that, as usual, I hope you are having a great day, and I hope to see you around.